can't be happy with it. And I think Veljko Paunovic said as well, in that locker room, the guys were disappointed. So it's a good sign. They understand that those are drop points. You have 2 more home games now in a row, 2 tougher opponents that'll be a little bit healthier. So that's where you've got to go get 6 points in those games. But I will also say, in addition to the kind of feeling of coming back at the end, watching that game back, the Fire were the better team, and it wasn't close. They had a lot of opportunities. They put some of those opportunities away early. It's a different game. So I think you can gain a positive out of that as well.
Let's take a look at some of the action from Saturday at Toyota Park, the first of 3 straight home games as the Chicago Fire. A nice sunny day, which had to make Paul Tenorio happy on the sidelines, and the Fire getting on the board first here in the 17th minute. David Accam getting the ball, a nice cross to Bastian Schweinsteiger, who puts it in the net.
It's amazing how much power he generates on the header, but this is a set piece, something that they've worked in training, and you can just see when Alvarez played that ball and he made that run inside to take space and leave that space for Accam, but a great ball in, and Schweinsteiger, great timing in there, and just got so much power behind that header, really. I know Bush got a hand on it, but there was no way he would have been able to save that one.
We go to the second half. Montreal, they switch the ball to the other side. A nice run. The ball goes all the way across, and Mancosu right there to put the head on the ball and get it past Bava.
Yeah, disappointing because numbers in the box to cover that, but obviously that switch of play, slow to cover this wide area, the channels, and the little movement by Mancuso where he comes inside in front of Campbell, then he peels to the back post, and Campbell kind of loses him, and then it's just disappointing to give up a goal like that with numbers in the box.
Yeah, and here's a big play as the Fire go down a man. Juninho gets called for, I guess, his second yellow, and he is out with a red card. He misses. He goes out in the 71st minute. The game stayed 1-1 throughout much of the rest of the contest, and we were getting to the waning moments. Fire did have an opportunity here. Schweinsteiger had a chance to score his second goal off the corner, just a little bit wide. Then Montreal comes on, and in the 90th minute, they get a goal as the youngster scores for Montreal.
Yeah, this is just a disappointing goal to give up all the way around. Michael Harrington doesn't step up with his line, then drops off. Needs to step and close here. He doesn't do it, but Bava getting beat at the near post. It's just a goal you don't want to give up at home, a soft goal. But the Fire responded.
Yeah, they did. They were not done. A nice ball to Solinak, and he puts it in the net. Fire fans go crazy. 93rd minute, they get that 2-2 draw. Here you see it again.
Yeah, and I think this is another great example by Dexter stepping in, winning the ball, and right away he visioned to play that ball forward. Great ball, and obviously the back line, Van Drew, who came in, dropped off a little bit, and then just a great finish by Solinak just to get it on target. And I think Paul is right. I think the way they came back into this game, you feel good. But again, an opponent like that with the players that we're missing, definitely you got to be a little bit disappointed to drop a couple points at home.
And I think you're upset a little bit too on the way that second goal happened. Like I said, there are some areas there that are very simple mistakes that you can correct. I'm sure Jorge Bava doesn't want to get beat on his near post like that ever again this season. But I'd like to emphasize, you come back from a moment like that. It's not easy mentally to recover giving up an 89th minute goal. It's just not. So to have the fortitude, the mentality to push back down the field and get the goal, I do think that's commendable. And, I think it speaks to certain qualities within a team. I think it speaks to the guys that they've brought into this team, guys like Dax McCarty, Juninho, Schweinsteiger. And I will say also, one guy who maybe doesn't get enough credit, Luis Solinak. I think Solinak came in last year, played very, very well. He re-signs. He came into this game and added energy, and that is a quality finish. There's only one person on this couch who can talk about how difficult it is to score a goal like that, and it's not me. Let me tell you, Fred, and it's not you.
No, it's certainly not me.
That's a heck of a goal.
It's a great goal, and I think when you look at Solinak, I think the one thing that's against him always, because he does so many great things for the team, but in the end of the day, you're saying, can he get goals? Can he get points? Can he get goals? And I think this was a great finish by him, and I do agree with Paul, because I think all the subs that came in, and it was great to have the ability to bring a guy like DeLu coming back, recovering from an injury, and then to bring Solinak. And even Johnson came in and had a big impact in the match.
Yeah, and we'll talk a lot more about what happened in the contest, a lot more about Bastian Schweinsteiger, his debut with the Chicago Fire. We'll hear from the German after his first game. Also, we'll talk about Nikolic. We'll talk about a lot of what's coming up as the Chicago Fire continue the homestand. Columbus Crew SC in town, a 1 o'clock start at Toyota Park. Get your tickets at chicago-fire.com. We'll be back with more, taking a look a little bit deeper in depth in the 2-2 draw with Montreal when we come back at Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Heineken tastes perfect every single time, and that doesn't happen by accident. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster, almost as long as it took me to master this look.
She came to meet a man. She found an angel. Good, ba-da-ba-checka. What's his name now? Good, ba-da-ba-checka.
Still practicing. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster. There's more behind the star.
The heat will wear you out real quick. And we've been through some hot ones. It's very physical. You gotta take care of your body and stay hydrated because every moment matters. That's why I drink Advocare Hydrate. I've got a job to do.
John, you're home.
What's going on?
It's this paint. Valspar Reserve. Nothing stays on the wall. Not anything. Not any of these things, John.
Right, Valspar Reserve. Super stain resistant and scrubbable.
And this color, still perfect.
Yeah, looks great, Val. How much coffee have you had?
3 cups. 4.
Valspar Reserve Paint and Primer with Hydrochroma technology. Now the colors you love stay the colors you love. Exclusively at Lowe's.
Welcome back to Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank, the official bank of your Chicago Fire. We're reacting to the 2-2 draw with Montreal this past Saturday at Toyota Park, the debut of Bastian Schweinsteiger. He scored in his debut with the Chicago Fire. After the game, something he doesn't get very often, or also never got in Europe, is a lot of reporters in the locker room afterwards, and they had some questions for the German after his debut.
About that first goal and what it was like to get that debut goal.
Yeah, it was a great feeling. Perfect cross of David and header, and it was a good feeling, of course. But I'm a little bit sad and not so happy that we couldn't win the game.
How do you feel in your first game?
All right. I mean, 90 minutes was okay. Sometimes had a moment of that I was a little bit tired, but I could step up and wanted to push for the draw and also for extra victory. But at the end, we have to live with the 1 point, unfortunately. But we have to work, we have to improve, and that's what we have to do.
Bastian Schweinsteiger, his first game, he gets his first goal, and you can see the disappointment when he answers that second question. A goal's great when you win the game, but when you score and you don't win and you don't come away with the 3 points, no one's really extremely happy.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, I think his appearance, you couldn't have asked for anything better than that, and there's going to be improvement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he hasn't played a match or 90 minutes in such a long time, and and there's a lot of adrenaline going through, I think, and his experience gets him through this game, and you see the impact that he's had. I can't wait to see now, 5-6 games under his belt, how much more sharper, and the ability of him to get to know his teammates a little bit better. I think that his level is going to increase within every match.
Yeah, he kind of looked at me like a crazy man in the post-game interview because I was talking about it being a positive point only because the goal had happened so late to get the equalizer, and he kept trying to repeat to me, no, we wanted to win. I'm disappointed in the point. But look, for me, watching him from the sideline, I think you have to be really happy. There were multiple times during this game where he put his head down and made that extra sprint where you could tell he was dog tired. He had not played these minutes, and I really appreciated the effort he was putting in because I know what it's like when you're in a game and you're really, really tired. To put your head down and make that extra sprint defensively is not easy. He did it every time, Frank.
You know what? I think we talked a little bit through the game when, there was a moment where you can just tell the fatigue level because the game fitness is a little bit different than practice. But then I just felt like late in the game, when there was so much on the line that almost he got a second win back, because he was sprinting to close players down without the ball. And, it was just that, that mentality says, okay, the game's on the line. I can always step it up. And somehow this guys find a little energy when either they need to make the little last sprint to defend or to get forward. And then, so for me, it's like, he hit the wall a little bit, but he found his second win.
Well, too, I think there was that adrenaline going into the game where I think he was so emotionally amped up to be there, to make his debut, to be playing, and he was out there sprinting for 25 minutes, and he hasn't played a lot of minutes over the last year. And he's going to get fit. He's going to probably shed a few pounds as he plays, right? That's what happens when you get more and more game fit. But after 25 minutes of going nonstop, you could see it kind of hit him. And there was a moment where he kind of took a deep breath, and I saw him. He calmed himself down, and you saw him start to float towards the sideline a little bit to get on the ball and be a distributor. But again, defensively, he was there every single time, sprinting to close out. And I think that's important because it has an impact on the guys around you. I think there's a reason why, and I said this during the broadcast, Brandon Vincent had his best game I've seen him in a Chicago Fire jersey. I think it's partly because he was playing next to Schweinsteiger so often that the confidence was going there. The work rate was coming from the guy next to him. It's similar to what I saw with Kaká in Orlando.
Listen, the one thing I agree with you, and then I think for me, because I came and watched training a little bit on Thursday, and I saw some of their patterns in the final third, and their ability just through that movement to create options with the guy on the ball. And it was great to see because on that side, the relationship between Vincent, Schweinsteiger, Akam, was excellent. You can just see the first half and throughout the game. I think I do agree with you. I felt that he was one of Vincent's better games that he's played to date, and I think his movement between Akam, Schweinsteiger, and them, when to move, how to create space, and not to be in same lines and create those little triangles, I think was fantastic.
And there were a lot of questions about Schweinsteiger's ability to play in the final third. And I'll admit, I asked them as well. Can he be a guy who plays that last ball through? And in the first game, we certainly saw that he could. There were 3 or 4 passes that he made that could have been goals.
Sure.
2 to Soloniak, 1 sets up a red card. The other Soloniak gets through, doesn't finish. There was a long ball early to Akam that he brought down nicely and couldn't get that pass over to Nikolic. There were a few balls that Schweinsteiger played that would have and could have led directly to goals. In fact, I think he ended up having 3 or 4 key passes according to Opta, which is very, very high for any number 10. So another test that he passed early on to show I'm very comfortable playing above 2 players, sliding out, finding a role, and being able to make that pass. That's encouraging considering it was not only his first game in a long time, but also after flying and going through jet lag.
The other thing that he found out right away, trying to figure out what kind of league Major League Soccer is, Montreal, you knew was going to have something ready for him. Number 14, Arigi, I think it was his first game with Montreal. He kicked Schweinsteiger immediately after the opening kick. Also took him down 3 times. Schweinsteiger made sure he told the ref. And that's the kind of attention he's going to get now that he's in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. DPs like Schweinsteiger will get kicked a bunch during games.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about where he plays, how he played, how he fits in, and as the team and Bastian Schweinsteiger move on, because the homestand continues. As this week, as the Columbus Crew SC, they come to town, a 1 o'clock kick at Toyota Park. They've gotten much better since the first game of the season. They're on a 3-game winning streak. Get your tickets at chicago-fire.com. Back with more after this on Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Why put another crossover on a road already filled with them? Why give it headlights like jewels, a body that feels sculpted? Why give it an interior where even the dash is cut and sewn by hand? It's simple. You can build a car or you can build a Cadillac.
Join us for Spring's Best. Get this low-mileage lease on this Cadillac XT5 from around $419 per month, or purchase with 0% financing.
Do you have too many bills but not enough money? Would you like one lower payment for all debt, little or no money down? I'm attorney Peter Francis Geraci. Our Chapter 13 plans stop collections and creditors in one day for as low as $95 every 2 weeks. Get rid of bill collectors and high car payments. Get one lower payment today. Call or click now.
When you need to be debt-free, call 1-800-CALL-PFG. That's 1-800-CALL-PFG.
My Bobo-Pedic Hybrid Queen Mattress Set, an untouchable value at just $9.99.
Hey, Bob, can I try one?
Sure.
Our Bobo-Pedic Hybrid Queen Mattress Set is $1,300 less than the Tempur-Pedic Flex Prima. Both have individually wrapped coils and space-age memory foam, but our Bobo-Pedic adds cooling gel and a 20-year warranty versus their 10. That should have you sleeping like a baby. How was that? Nailed it.
Before each week's NASCAR race, enter the Chicagoland Speedway sweepstakes at csnchicago.com/speedway and tell us who you think will win that weekend's race. Then be sure to tune in every Tuesday to CSN as the president of Chicagoland Speedway, Scott Paddock, joins Dave Kaplan on Sports Talk Live. If he randomly selects your entry, you'll win tickets to the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup race on September 20th in Joliet. Plus, you'll be entered to win the grand prize, a trip for two to the 2017 NASCAR Awards ceremony in Las Vegas.
Welcome back to Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank, the official bank of your Chicago Fire. Talking more about the 2-2 draw with Montreal and Bastian Schweinsteiger's debut with the Chicago Fire. And guys, I'm looking at some of the numbers. 60% possession for the Fire. Schweinsteiger, 87% pass completion. A lot of times we talk about the Chicago Fire and them losing the possession battle. With him there, along with McCarty and Juninho, who will be without this weekend, can we expect to see much better possession with these three in the midfield?
Listen, I think that every game is going to be different, but obviously you add another piece in the midfield that has that ability, I think with his quality and his decision making, because it's not only playing the safe passes, and like Paul said, I mean, there was 3 or 4 passes when it's on. He can hit that pass 30, 40 yards or split defenders. There was a couple passes. I mean, you saw the pass he makes to Solniak. So his ability now to show for the ball, want it in difficult moments, whether it's a guy in the back, you can play it to him and you know that he's not going to lose it, but also when it's on, you know that he can thread the needle, which he showed in the last game. So I think in the midfield with those three, I think you can compare those three with any trio in the league.
Absolutely. And I also think watching that game, and I don't know how much this will change and adjust over time, but there was a trust immediately to get the ball to Schweinsteiger. His teammates knew when he said he did this and said, I want the ball, the ball was there. And that's a good thing, to have multiple players that are looking for the ball, that want the ball. I felt that there were times last year, and Frank and I talked about this, where you're getting frustrated watching a game because there are people in the middle of the park that didn't want the ball. Their runs weren't going to the ball. They weren't demanding it in moments where they should have been. And now you've got 3 guys in your central midfield that all want the ball in those moments. That's a very good thing and an important thing. And yeah, you better hope, if you're the Fire, that you're dominating possession, or at least in that battle a lot more than you were before, because you spent a lot of money to put this trio together in central midfield. It's the strength of the team, and I think you want those 3 guys on the ball as much as possible, dictating the game.
Yeah, and that's going to happen, but I think as teams now watch and break this tape down, and they see the strength and the way that the Fire are looking to play through Dax, through Basti, through Juninho, I think there's going to be more of an emphasis to close them down and force the ball in other players of the field, maybe more guys in the back, the center backs, or maybe the outside backs. So I think the more that there's a good understanding and the more that they work on their pattern play and their movement and give those guys, if they don't have the ball in the midfield and then the outside backs now or the center backs are forced to build play out of the back, that they're all on the same page as far as 1 or 2 ideas synchronized with their movement, really to find options to play.
And this is where I think coaching comes into play. Frank, you can talk about this a lot. When the team begins to adjust to you, you start to adjust back. And the way you do that a lot of times, at least from my experience within the league talking to coaches, you put video up and you say to a guy like David Accam, see what's happening here? They're closing Schweinsteiger up. If you make this sprinting run, he's going to be able to play you one touch, and he's got two guys on him, and you're in space going. You say to Brandon Vincent, if you make that overlapping run and you get the ball 20 yards higher up the field than you would normally, now you're in a place where you can actually help us. And those players have to have that understanding. You also need that intelligence from players like Arturo Alvarez, who we know can make some smart runs. We'll take a look at that a little bit later in the show. Michael DeLue, he's a guy who's made his entire career off of being smart off the ball. Nemanja Nikolic, he'll start to learn where the movement can help. But that's going to be vital, like Frank says, because they're not going to give those three guys time on the ball. So the other guys around them need to watch film, need to understand your off-the-ball movement when you don't have the ball is going to be vital for you to get the ball in dangerous places.
See, and we're talking a lot about Schweinsteiger and his debut with the team, but we have to realize, too, McCarty didn't have a lot of practice time with these guys. And from a lot of things I went back and watched and reading other things, many people said that was McCarty's best game.
I thought he had an excellent game. I would agree with that because if you see his ability, and I don't know what percentage of completions he had because I know he must have been very high, but his defensive work rate, playing in front of the center backs and kind of the screen and, denying passes to the feet of Mancuso and stuff like that. And his ability now to break up plays, but then what he does so well is, and I know Paul talked about it, and the impact he had was with the Red Bulls and how Sasha Kljestan benefited from, because his ability to see, the open space right away. He's always looking forward before he gets the ball. It's not like I get the ball, then he's already surveying the field. The ball comes, and then he has that quality and ability, whether it's a 15-yard pass, 20-yard, to split the lines, switch the point of attack with quality, and start the attack. If it's on, and you saw this last game, his ability now to start attack from a deeper position, like a deep line playmaker, was key, but also he brings so much without the ball. His defensive work and his ability to break up plays and help the team defensively, he always finds a way to have an impact.
And you're down on the pitch, so he does a ton of work coaching on the pitch too.
Yeah, and I think also one thing I noticed is that Schweinsteiger was doing that too. The first 2 or 3 minutes of the game, Montreal got the ball in the back line. They were playing it, kind of trying to recycle the ball along the back line, and Schweinsteiger was yelling at Nikolic to pressure, but to pressure with purpose, right? So curl your run, force Montreal to one side of the field. And I saw the recognition happen in Nikolic after that every time the ball came there, he was trying to make that same defensive run. So now you've got two guys on the field that are showing teams how to press, showing the players how to press. You've got Schweinsteiger with the top half, you've got McCarty on the back half. It's going to make this team better defensively, and I think it'll pay off in the long run.
When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about another player that made his MLS debut this past week, the 2-2 draw with Montreal. Don't forget, Columbus coming to town, 1 o'clock Saturday at Toyota Park. Get your tickets at chicago-fire.com. If you can't make it out there, I don't know why, it's going to be 60, sunny, a gorgeous day. Get on out there, but if you can't, you can catch the game on CSN Plus with a 1 o'clock kick. We come back, we'll talk more about the Fire right here on Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
The blades of a combat chopper spin at 380 RPMs. Not even close to an Echo trimmer. Now that's shock and awe. Power on and on.
We don't give up. We don't quit. We keep going. Day in, day out. We fight on. Why? Because we are champions. Be a champion.
Don't let pain knock you out of the ring. Our hand, wrist, and elbow experts are pioneers worldwide. You need us in your corner. Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. Make an appointment today. After our minimally invasive spine surgery, 80% of golfers maintained or improved their handicap. Be treated by the pros to play more like a pro. Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. Make an appointment today.
powerful than the winds of a Cat 5 hurricane? An Echo backpack blower. So, yeah, it'll clear a path. Power on and on.
Welcome back to Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. We've talked a lot about the 2-2 draw with Montreal this past weekend. Bastian Schweinsteiger, easy for me to say, making his MLS debut. But another guy for the Chicago Fire made his debut, Daniel Johnson. He was scheduled to be here today, took a knock in practice, had to get things checked out, so he couldn't make it. But it was nice to see him get in, and nice to make your debut in Major League Soccer and play alongside Bastian Schweinsteiger, isn't it?
I mean, a great debut for him. And I think when he came in, 79th minute in the match, in a difficult moment in the game, you're playing a man down, and then obviously, you're coming in. But he had a huge impact in the game. And then, I mean, some of the plays that he made, I mean, his movement was very good. He came in with a lot of confidence, and he showed very well. He made good decisions. He made good runs. And he made good decisions with the ball, when to hold it, when to lay it off. And I felt for 15 minutes that he came in for to play had a huge impact.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who, when I was out in California in January for the Combine, really, really impressed a lot of teams on the first day. And I know there were a few teams that were hoping that he wouldn't do so so that they could draft him. And, I think the Fire were one of those teams. They were able to get him. And I've been interested to see him play because I think he's a guy who's very, very skillful on the ball. And, it was about, I wanted to see how it would translate to MLS. How quickly could he move the ball, get it off of his feet? What would his movement off the ball be like? And that last part is what really impressed me about Daniel Johnson. His movement away from the ball when the Fire had the ball was very, very good. He found good pockets of space. He was able to help facilitate in the final third. I thought it was smart soccer overall. Of course, there are things to work on. You're a rookie. It's your first game. His defensive play is going to have to improve. And, I'm sure at times they're going to want him to move the ball quicker. But he came on, and he provided a spark. And that's what matters to me. For a young kid, like Frank said, he was incredibly confident on the ball. I really liked where he found the ball and where he found the game. And he added a lift. And I think he's a guy who not only can be a super sub as the season goes on, but maybe even push for a starting job if he continues to grow.
I mean, his first touch in the game, he came in, and then I think that which led to the pass which he makes. I think there's a long ball, or I think from Montreal, I think Dax is fighting, he wins it, he plays him in the midfield, and then the composure that he shows, because that there's no angle to find Schweinsteiger there with a little diagonal pass, so he kind of holds on a little bit, delays a little bit until that seems, or it opens up a little bit more, and he finds a diagonal pass. And what I like after that, the minute that ball is going to Schweinsteiger, that recognition by Solinek was fantastic, because even before he's turning, Solinek is making that run in depth, and then that's those little things where it's amazing how that in a short time, like the understanding with the players, knowing that, and Solinek was watching the game, so he says, you know what, this guy, if I'm moving, he's going to find me in space. So it was great to see that. For me, that was great. The timing, Solinek recognizing, making that run, and his first touch finds Schweinsteiger, and then which leads to the red card with Cabrera. You
also realize too, I mean, he wasn't expecting to come in. He came in when DeLue got hurt. Correct?
Yep.
So you figure when Michael DeLue comes in the game, Johnson's probably figuring, okay, they're not going to bring another midfielder in. And next thing you know, DeLue goes down with an injury and Johnson's in there. And he also did the one thing you mentioned, but get the ball to McCarty or Schweinsteiger. You can't go wrong when you get the ball to either one of them.
No doubt about that. There's a rule I learned as a reporter. There are certain things that I always will listen to players about. And one of those is who's quality on the team, because the players know. And there are a few players that I spoke to as this preseason went on in the first few weeks of the season that said to me, hey, this kid can really play. Trust me, this kid can really play. And I was kind of waiting, and they're right. I mean, I think he showed a lot of quality, and I think the confidence is there. And like I said, I mean, I've talked to a lot of rookies over the last couple years where I think the biggest learning curve in MLS is defensively, because you play college ball, and you're one of the better players. You can get away with jogging here and there. In MLS, if you jog at the wrong moment, you're going to get beat. All of that stuff comes with experience. All of that stuff comes with watching yourself again, watching film. But the instincts of the game, of how to move, how to get on the ball, how to play, that's harder to teach. And it looks like he has that.
No, he has that. And then, going back to your point, Fred, sometimes, I think things happen, for a reason,
Right.
because, and I think as a coach, where you really gain confidence in a player, it's because sometimes, you're not thinking about this guy because the Lou is in, Solinek is in, and, and then maybe you're thinking how to push the game one more time. But then he goes in a difficult moment, and then he earns the respect, not only from his teammates, but from the coach, because now that you can put this guy in moments like that, because he wants the ball, and for sure there's room to grow. Because I think without the ball, I think that's the one thing, his ability now without the ball at his feet, because he's so good when he has it, and you saw 3 times that he got the ball, the impact that he had. But now without the ball, how does he defend? Does he help the team? When he doesn't have the ball, how is he positive within the group? But I think for me, it made me really a believer in the kid, and for sure he's earned more opportunities through his play.
Yeah, and I would say, I came here, I'm disappointed that he's not here, that he took a knock. It would be terrible timing. So hopefully it's not too bad of an injury. I guess we'll find out in the coming days what the diagnosis is, but you hope he's back and healthy soon enough, because you want to capitalize on the momentum of that first strong performance.
Yeah, and it gives the coaching staff, it gives the team more players. It gives them depth. And the more depth you have, they always say everybody works harder in practice. They want to be out there in the starting 11. They want to make the 18. He did. He got out there and had a chance. So hopefully he gets better and does it quickly. We come back. We'll let these guys go X's and O's. We'll break down some things that happened in the game against Montreal as we get ready for the second game of the homestand. Columbus in town, 1 o'clock at Toyota Park. Get your tickets at chicago-fire.com. It's Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Hey, take a look. I'm mapping out our entire mortgage application process.
Wow.
Ooh, careful. Everything has been meticulously placed.
Oh, but there are BMO Harris mortgage bankers that can guide us through all of this.
What?
Yeah, I just booked an appointment.
Wow.
But all of this, really neat.
It is pretty neat.
When a bank helps you every step of the way, that's the BMO effect. BMO Harris Bank. We're here to help.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Talk. They hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
You try.
No matter where you pop the question, James & Sons is where you get the ring. As a local, family-owned jeweler for over 50 years, James & Sons Fine Jewelers features exceptional engagement ring choices from Tacori, Hearts on Fire, and our own JNS collection. James & Sons features GIA certified diamonds and the best warranty in the business at no extra cost to you. James & Sons, where Chicagoland gets engaged in Chicago, Orland Park, and Cherville.
You totaled your brand new car. Nobody's hurt, but there will still be pain. It comes when your insurance company says they'll only pay 3/4 of what it takes to replace it. What are you supposed to do? Drive 3/4 of a car? Now, if you had Liberty Mutual new car replacement, you'd get your whole car back. I guess they don't want you driving around on 3 wheels. Smart.
With Liberty Mutual new car replacement, we'll replace the full value of your car. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Firefield Vision, powered by NovaCare, as we take a look at some of the things that happened this past weekend in the 2-2 draw with Montreal, and also get you ready for the game coming up this Saturday with Columbus in town for a 1 o'clock kick. And always in every game, positives and negatives, and we're going to talk a lot about them.
Fred, we're going to stick on the positives right now because there were a lot of positives, and I think it's good to see a lot of things that you do on the training pitch now take place on a game.
Mm-hmm.
And we have like 10 clips to go over. I'm sure that they can focus on some of the negative things, but I felt that there was a lot of positive things to focus on from this last game.
Well, we'll get you the chalkboard as you guys break these things down and look at these highlights.
Well, for me, it's like you see this little combination play where Alvarez comes inside, they swing the ball out wide to Harrington, and it's great to see this run inside out, and then that ball by Harrington, and then, finds Juninho coming in, the ball comes across to Akam coming inside. you get a corner from this, which leads to the goal. But that buildup actually was very good.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about with the movement of the ball. And you can see here now, Schweinsteiger drifting off to the left, finds the ball, beautiful ball over the top. This is what we were talking about earlier in the show, his ability to find that pass in the final third. And I thought it was a fine idea from Akam for Nikolic, just a little bit off on the pass.
And then for me, from a throw-in, it's good for me when you have guys working hard to win the ball. And you just see this blind run from Juninho coming inside, that ball in the pockets to find Basti, and then Mex Cabrera coming inside.
And then you see here, Frank, I'm getting so angry. Nikolic gets tackled by Kamara. The referee's got his arms out saying, play on. First of all, if you're going to say that, come back and give a yellow card. He doesn't do it. Then, watch. They lose the ball. He's still got his hands out for play on. Call the foul.
It was crazy. I mean, I saw that all along. I think goal-scoring opportunity stopped. But here's another play. I think it's great to see Akam working hard defensively to win that ball back. Great ball to split the pockets. I mean, you see Alvarez coming inside. Akam is making that run out wide. And for me, this was so close. The timing of that with Nikolic is always looking to get behind. I felt he was on. But that's just another opportunity where, once that they get on the same page with that, those are going to convert into opportunities into goals.
Yeah, that's a tough offside call. I didn't realize it was that close during the game. Akam was there as well. Then you see here another great movement here. Good ball through to Akam. To Brandon Vincent, not able to get it across. And then we see here again, that's Michael Deleu, very, very close to putting that in the back of the net. And that was Brandon Vincent making that run. That's the confidence I was talking about.
That's the one, and I think it was a great ball in and a great run in the back post by Michael Deleu there. But here's this opportunity that leads to the red card. And here's the one I was talking about. Johnson gets it. He's got Bernier on him. That little delay to separate, and for me, that incredible run there by Solniak. The minute that ball is played to Basti, he's taken off, and he's so fast, and then he gets Cabrera to get that second yellow.
There's Schweinsteiger nearly getting his second goal. Just tried to place it to the far post. Would have been a nice finish.
Just another ball here again with Johnson. Very nice little combination. Movement off the ball, plays it. Nice, easy ball back to Schweinsteiger, and then this movement again. Just the recognition of Solniak, just to make that run if there's space in depth and get another opportunity on goal.
Yeah, that was the pocket that I like to see the rookie finding and being a part of the play there. And here we go. Dax winning the ball, up and over to Solniak, and that's just a quality finish right there. But you love Daniel Johnson involved defensively there, and then Dax, ability to get his head up and make that pass. There are multiple players now on this team that can make those passes, multiple players now that can beat you.
100%. I think with Johnson, what I liked is his decision-making. When he needed to hold the ball, he was able to hold it. And I think those plays on the first one initially, where there was no space there, and then he creates a little space, and then he finds Schweinsteiger, and then his movement, in depth, to give an angle for Dax to play him, knocks it back to Bashi. Great little combination play and link-up play, 1-2, and then that run into space behind Cabrera that, Schweinsteiger has. And then, in just one game, I think you can just see that understanding, and then the movement off the ball, and it's great to see, because when you have movement off the ball, you have options, and that's sometimes what's missing.
Yeah, we're not going to sit here and pretend. We had a few clips of what the Fire could have done better in this game. There were moments, of course, defensively where they could have done some things better or attacking-wise, but we also had 10, 15 clips that we found of what they did well, and I think what really stands out is what Frank said. The combination play from the start with Schweinsteiger on the field was so much better than what we've seen from this team in a long time. And it led to opportunity after opportunity, whether it was Schweinsteiger from a deep lying position finding those passes, whether it was Daniel Johnson in the late stages getting the ball in those pockets and combining with Schweinsteiger to allow him to play those weighted balls in. There was a lot to talk about. Brandon Vincent's run. So I think that there are positive signs of where this team is going. And now you just want to try to put it all together in a 90-minute performance where you also kind of put those soft goals and push them out of the way.
So quickly, as we take a look at this week, this past week they played without Kappelhoff. He's back after his red card. Janino's out. What's that going to mean to the midfield?
Well, the good thing is that you have options with players, and I think when you have guys, I think the impact that players have off the bench have come in and they contributed to a game like this. I think that the coach has options, and it's always good to have options.
Yeah.
It's always good to have options. We'll
I've
see
heard
what he
that from a
does.
lot of different people.
It's hard in this moment to sit down and say, what's the formation they're going to play? Do you go back to 4-2-3-1? Do you go to a 4-4-2 of some sort? I don't know. Goossens is out. Daniel Johnson, we don't know his status. Polster, I think, is another week or two away. So we're going to have to wait and see what we hear from Paunovic, maybe if we see in training.
Fire opened up the season against the Columbus Crew SC, and now the Crew comes to Toyota Park this Saturday, 1 o'clock, and they've been playing much better soccer of late. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
What's more powerful than the winds of a Cat 5 hurricane? An Echo backpack blower. So, yeah, it'll clear a path. Power on and on.
John, you're home.
What's going on?
It's this paint. Valspar Reserve. Nothing stays on the wall. Not anything. Not any of these things, John.
Right. Valspar Reserve. Super stain resistant and scrubbable.
And this color, still perfect.
Yeah, looks great, Val. How much coffee have you had?
3 cups. 4.
Valspar Reserve Paint and Primer with Hydrochroma technology. Now the colors you love stay the colors you love. Exclusively at Lowe's.
Find a location near you at chicago-fire.com/youth.
NovaCare Rehabilitation knows the importance of an active lifestyle. If you're injured, we bring that back to you. NovaCare is the exclusive provider of physical therapy and athletic training services to the Chicago Fire Soccer Club. With 32 convenient Chicago area locations, NovaCare provides unmatched clinical expertise and customer service. For a center near you, or to request an appointment, visit novacare.com or call 800-770-6682. NovaCare, the power of physical therapy.
The blades of a combat chopper spin at 380 RPMs. Not even close to an Echo trimmer. Now that's shock and awe. Power on and on.
Welcome back to Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. It's time for the Valspar Primer, brought to you by Valspar, the official paint of your Chicago Fire. Well, guys, it's taken Greg Berhalter just a couple of games to get his team figuring things out. They've won 3 straight. They knocked off Orlando 2-0, and now they come to Toyota Park for a 1 o'clock start. It's a different team, I think, or at least they're clicking on all cylinders, which maybe they weren't in the opener.
No, I think, this is a team before the season I felt was going to be the most improved in Major League Soccer. I thought that they were, again, going to be near the top of the East. Greg Berhalter, to me, is a very good coach. I think he's very smart tactically. He's got a good idea of how he wants his teams to play. And I thought that the problems with Columbus last year were more about lack of competition. They maybe relaxed a little bit after making MLS Cup, and they didn't recognize, look, you can't relax. They added a little bit of talent now with Kekuta Mane. They added guys like Artur in the center midfield. They added some guys on the back line, which was the biggest issue. And now you play with this great system, 4-2-3-1. You make teams chase a little bit, and they're getting rewarded for it.
And listen, you know how they're going to play. They're not going to change. They're going to look to play out of the back any opportunity that they have. I think in their build-up phase, when they do have the ball, Trapp is going to really drop in between the center backs and almost become like a 3-4-2-1 with Miriam coming inside and Finley. So that. But I still go back to the first game that the Fire played. I think it was a poor first half by the Fire, a much better second half. The Fire team is a much improved team right now. Going into this match also, the confidence of being at home, I think it's a difficult place for them. The opportunities were there, Paul, the first game in transition. I think, can they finish those opportunities? Because I think Columbus, the way they're going to play, they're going to force the ball. They're going to make mistakes. The space is going to be in transition. If the Fire can connect and make them pay when they make mistakes, that's one thing. I think the other thing also is when they overload the wide channels. I think you see a guy like Aful on the right side that looks to overlap constantly. They're going to try, when the ball is on one side, they do a very good job getting away from the pressure, switching the point of attack, and now where they can create those 2v1 numerical superiorities down on those wide channels. So how is the Fire going to deal with that? I think that's been an issue for them, especially closing down track and runners in the wide areas and box defending.
Yeah, look, this is a team, the Fire team, they went to Columbus on the road. They didn't have Juninho. They didn't have Schweinsteiger. And this is a team, to me, Columbus, that its strength at the end of the day is keeping the ball through the middle of the field. Now, yes, I agree. Their overloads with the fullbacks getting forward is a huge part of this system, but it starts with being able to keep the ball in the middle of the park. So you think the Fire are going to be better there simply because Schweinsteiger's there. Obviously, Juninho's not because of the red card. But I agree. Akam has to understand the defensive responsibilities that come in tracking Awful on the right side. If he doesn't, if they want to keep him high to be able to hit them in transition when Awful gets forward, then that means Dax or Schweinsteiger or whoever plays for Juninho is going to have to do a very good job of tracking that run and making sure that they don't get isolated 2v1 or 1v1 against Brandon Vincent on the outside. But I think what's going to be important for this team is when they press high against Columbus, don't allow that easy pass out of the high press, because Ola Kamara is good enough to hold the ball and allow those runs coming in diagonally from Justin Merrim, who's had a very good start to the season, and Kekuta Mane is now a part of this team. If he gets isolated with those two on an easy ball over the top where the Fire are pressed forward and their numbers now are 3v3 or even 3v4, it's going to be trouble. They have to be very disciplined when they're pushing high up the field.
Yeah, the Fire's right back's going to be busy. You mentioned Justin Merrim, and Merrim actually crossed the ball for the lone goal in the first game against the Fire, and he's red hot right now. He's scoring goals. He scored 2 the other day. He's red hot, and it's going to be a tough opponent on that side.
Yeah, and I think you see the start of that game, the first game, I think there was an opportunity. I think Bava came big in that match because he made the big save in Merrim right away. Yeah. It's those late runs coming from midfield that they don't track, so the Fire have to be very aware. Their strength is in the middle, 100, for sure. So I think, making sure that they're tight on trap. This kid Arthur that's playing, the Brazilian kid that's on loan, has been a very good player. And then, Higuain kind of is the guy that tries, if he doesn't get the ball in the final third, he'll come back and try to find the game and the ball. But like Paul said before, he's not going to hurt you when he's 60 yards away from the goal.
Well, I was going to say, it's amazing we've gotten this far, and that's the first time we mentioned Higuain's name.
Well, he's a different type of player, but yeah, the most impact he's going to have is in the final third. The more he drops deep to find the ball, the better. I'm guessing Greg Berhalter's telling Artur, you're staying near Schweinsteiger. And every time he gets the ball, you make sure he knows you're there. This is a kid who covers a lot of ground. He's young. He's energetic. He's going to want to impress against a player like Schweinsteiger. Schweinsteiger is also very smart, and he's going to be able to bait that kid into situations where he's pressing and situations where he doesn't. Can they take advantage of that with the runs off the ball that Frank talked about earlier, especially on the wings? Because Will Trapp is so disciplined in the middle of the park. He'll cover that ground. But if Afol is getting forward and Artur steps too high with Schweinsteiger, that layoff ball to Akam or on the backside to Delu is going to be there.
And I don't know how the Fire are going to play, but it'd be interesting for me if you have Akam on one side and I don't know who's going to play on the other. How aggressive are their fullbacks to get forward? So that's a question that we're going to have to wait and see.
Well, you were saying when you were watching the Orlando game, because Carlos Rivas was up top with Laren, he's so quick, they played a little more conservative.
Very disciplined. I think Aful, I've seen him maybe get forward twice because of the two forwards, which if you play with two guys on top, I think, it keeps the outside backs a little bit more at bay.
I thought Frank was starting a whole new Abbott and Costello routine. I come on one side and I don't know who on the other side. We got to figure out exactly who. I don't know. I'm not sure who he is. We'll figure that out on Saturday. A 1 o'clock kick at Toyota Park. Columbus Crew SC coming to town. They're 3-1-1. They're on top of the Eastern Conference. We come back. We'll take a look at Major League Soccer and also what happened to Dallas last night. You're watching Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Why put another crossover on a road already filled with them? Why give it headlights like jewels, a body that feels sculpted? Why give it an interior where even the dash is cut and sewn by hand? It's simple. You can build a car or you can build a Cadillac.
Join us for Spring's Best. Get this low-mileage lease on this Cadillac XT5 from around $419 per month or purchase with 0% financing.
Chapter 13 debt repayment plans can deal with lawsuits, foreclosures, car payments, credit cards, payday loans, repossessions, tax debts, medical bills, and more. I'm attorney Peter Francis Geraci. Get one lower payment for all debt and stop creditors now. We're the law firm you trust to get you out of debt.
When you need to be debt-free, call 1-800-CALL-PFG. That's 1-800-CALL-PFG.
The Illinois Lottery presents a whole bunch of luck in 30 seconds. Here we go.
That's a long way.
Oh! She did it! Oh! Oh! Yeah! Woo! We won! Yes, we won! We won!
Mariah Haberman here from Discover Wisconsin. Join me and the rest of the DW crew every week on this station for all things Wisconsin. Find us on social media right now for gorgeous photos and great Wisconsin giveaways. Speaking of free stuff, did you know every month we give away an exciting vacation? This month you could win a prize package to Door Peninsula Winery. Just visit discoverwisconsin.com for details. Saturday mornings at 10 on Comcast Sportsnet.
Welcome back to Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. Fred Hubner, Frank Lopez, Paul Tenorio. We'll take a look at what's going on around the league. Also, what happened in Dallas last night and Vancouver going this evening. But don't forget, a reminder, you can stop on by the Jewel Osco tomorrow, April 6th, 5:30 to 7. Meet Fire midfielder Drew Connor, courtesy of Heineken. Drew will be at the Jewel Osco, 6107 South Archer, taking pictures, signing autographs. Stop on by. Visit chicago-fire.com/appearances for more information. Last night, Dallas had a chance. It looked like they were going to go to extra time, and then a goal late, and Pachuca moves on.
Yeah, I wrote a column about it this morning. I think it's more of the same, but it's not. Dallas went in. I thought they were the better team for long portions of this game, and they didn't play afraid. They really attacked them. I felt that Dallas showed, why they're considered one of the best teams in this league. They have players that are good enough to compete, but at the end of the day, Major League Soccer has a ways to go before it can compete with Liga MX. They're not spending on the same levels, and you can't find a shortcut around talent. At the end of the day, you look at, and you can point to homegrowns of your Major League Soccer, I get that. Well, guess what? Pachuca had two 21-year-olds on the team that they developed too. One of them is going to be sold, Chucky Lozano, for 13 or 14 or 15 million here in the next few weeks, I'm sure. And the other one is worth 7 to 8 million on the international market. So don't give me homegrowns.
Which is the other one?
Spend some money.
Gutierrez.
Yes,
they were both there when we played against them. You're right, and I think they were. We talked about it. We were texting back and forth, and I think the opportunities were there in the first half for Dallas, really to get on top in this match. And but then it's just heartbroken. I've been on the other end of that one in the end. Beating Pachuca there with Porter, a goal, the last touch of the game, really to tie that game and move on. So we were all pulling for our MLS side in Dallas, and I felt they showed extremely well. They had their chances, and I think that's where we were talking about scratching the really being disappointed in the end of the day.
But Frank is one of the few people who can speak to what this experience is like.
Right.
But at the end of the day, again, Major League Soccer, just take a few more steps forward. And I know targeted allocation money has gone towards addressing the top end of the roster, but I think that's been a big part of it. And Frank, you can speak to this. You had to go play a CONCACAF Champions League final where you had like 8 guys out hurt, and you just didn't have a big enough bench to replace those guys. You had to call in a goalkeeper on loan at the last second. So, until MLS starts to spend the money, not just on the top end of the roster, but on the roster all the way through to the point where you have the depth to compete with a team like Pachuca, with a team like Tigres tonight for Vancouver, it's going to be a tough road for MLS to compete in this tournament.
We'll take a look also at some of the other action around Major League Soccer as Cubo Torres, they were waiting for Cubo to come to Houston. He goes to Houston. He's got a hat trick the other day, and Houston playing quite well.
Listen, Wilmer Cabrera is the Cubo whisperer, man. This guy didn't score any goals in Houston until Cabrera got there. He was one of the top goal scorers in MLS when Cabrera was coaching him at Chivas. Now all of a sudden Houston's playing very well. What's interesting about this team is I think they're averaging something like 38% possession early in the season. That's fine with them. They sit back, they counterattack, and they beat you with a very, very good front line. And as long as Cubo is scoring goals, it's going to be a very good season for Houston. I spoke with Sasha Klestrin this morning for a story on 442 about the Red Bulls. they haven't looked good all season long. Even the first 2 wins of the season, Frank, I told you I didn't think they were that impressive. Sasha said, look, just give us time. Let's be patient. Let's not panic. We have some young guys that have stepped in for Dax. Let's give them time to develop. I really like Tyler Adams, by the way. He's only 18 years old. But he said, it'll come together. We just need it to be together by September or October. They can't wait too long. They need to start showing something.
No, for sure. But, I think in this league it shows you that, you don't win the championship in the beginning of the season or make that. So you have an opportunity and you're afforded a certain amount of time, that if you're there and you're just making the playoffs, and there's been so many examples in the past. Perfect example is like Seattle last year, So I think they will have the time. They're still a good team. They have a lot of quality there. But for me, it's not easy to replace a guy like Dax because there are some younger players there and probably quality players. But I think it's different than when you're the guy that you can step in once in a while, but now you got to be the guy every game that you have to produce. So there's a lot of pressure on the guys. They're just going to need some time.
And that's the hard part about this league, too, is it's hard to commit to playing young players. At times you have to do it. But for a team like the Red Bulls that have finished at or near the top of the East for, 2, 3, 4 of the last few years, it's really hard because the expectations are to win now. And so you want to balance that out. I believe in Tyler Adams. I think if you give him 2 or 3 years, he's going to be on a Kellen Acosta-like rise. But it's hard for a coach to have the confidence to do that. And I think, I think Jesse Marsh is going to play around with the formation. I don't like the 4-4-2 for them. I think they should get Sasha Kleshin back centrally. But, I think Jesse Marsh, we'll see this weekend. I have a feeling in Orlando it'll be back to the 4-2-3-1.
Well, and also you look around the league, Portland continuing to score. Valeri with 5 goals. Fernando Adi has 4 goals. And also on my list, Ola Kamara with 3 in 4 games. Hopefully that streak ends this weekend as the Fire get ready to take on the Columbus Crew SC. It's a 1 o'clock kick at Toyota Park. Get on out there. You can get your tickets at chicago-fire.com. Fire will be without Kappelhoff, or with Kappelhoff. They'll be without Janino. We'll see what kind of changes they make. We'll be back again next Wednesday, each and every Wednesday, breaking it down here for you here on CSN Plus. Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. Thanks for watching.